Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video on um, supporting your child to be social, but not just social, but beyond the standard of social. And I'm going to share a story, actually, a couple of stories, but um, this is sort of like a continuation from something we walked through with our daughter the beginning of this year. And basically, I'll post the video below so that you can see it in detail, but just a short summary. She was struggling to talk to people. She was struggling to make friends. She was struggling to just communicate her needs to other people that wasn't her direct family. And we supported her and walked her through this process so that she's now able to communicate effectively, and she's able to articulate what it is that she needs, and if not, then get the person to understand what it is that she needs, so she can get what a desired outcome she wants, right? So my initial desire, or my initial point with all this a while back, was because I saw that she was struggling. She was having major anxieties when she would approach people, children, and she would even start crying because she knew what she wanted to say, but she couldn't get it out there. And the interesting thing is that I have talked to many people who, as adults, struggle with this, where they have so much to say, but they can't get it out there, right? And so miscommunication happens. That leads to either depression, it leads to rage, resentment, so many feelings that build up from us not being able to communicate effectively. Now, like I said, this is sort of like a continuation, because I understand now that sort of like the standard that's placed for your child being social goes way beyond that, so much further. And so for me, like at the beginning, it was like, okay, I want her to be able to communicate, and I want her to be able to at least say hello to a child and being able to play. And I think for most parents, that would be like, I want my child to be able to go somewhere like a park, or a place where children go, and be able to just make a friend, right? Just talk to anyone and build relationship and hit it off and so forth, right? But then after she was started communicating effectively, when she knew how to communicate effectively, then she started to flourish in ways that I am just floored at seeing what has come about. So what do I say, like being social beyond being the standard of being social, right? And I was thinking about this because, like I said, like if your child comes home with one friend or two friends, you're like, oh yeah, well, my child's fine, right? Because they have friends, they have one or two friends, right? But can they effectively apply that formula of friendship or building relationship with anyone they come in contact with, right? And they can choose, right? They can say, well, this person I want to talk to, or this person I don't. But for the most part, can they apply the same formula? Can they go up to anyone and say, hey, would you like to share this activity with me or whatnot, right? And if they can effectively do it, then it's annoying, right? Because if you can do something in different scenarios, then you know how to do that, right? If you can only do it in one, then have you really integrated? Is it really part of you, right? So within this, I wanted to share some stories. So this whole thing with my daughter being able to communicate effectively, build relationship, talk, make friends, and so forth, was earlier this year. And now I was able to, we went away for a while, and she was able to just be herself 100%. And I was with her the whole time. I was close to her, but we got a chance to hang out at a pool, and in a hotel. And I was able to see her just completely flourish from, it was like a 360 turn, and how that floored me was because I see a child who's going through anxiety, who's going through so much just to be able to get a few words out, to seeing a 4-year-old being able to communicate so effectively and have zero fear, have nothing in her path that's going to stop her from doing what she wants, right? So I'll give you a couple of scenarios. When we were in the pool, at one point, she found the hotel has toys that they give away for the pool, like noodles and balls and floaties and so forth. She grabbed the ball, and then she found she was 7 years old, 7-year-old girl to play with. Hey, you want to play with me? Blah, blah. The girl said yes. And we were sort of like in the stairs, and to the side there were two boys. And in one of the times that the girls were throwing the ball to each other, he landed near the boys and they just took the ball. Now, the other girl, she had what I call the deer in headlights stare, like, oh my God, I can't believe they just took the ball. Like, what do I do, right? And I just stood back, but standing close. And I just saw my 4-year-old literally swim up to them and say, hey, listen, excuse me, I was playing with that ball. Can I please have it back? And then one of the boys looked at her and she said, yes, that ball. I was playing with that ball. Can I please have it back? The boy gave it back. The second time the ball landed near the boys, the girl Arya was playing with, looked at Arya, sort of like expecting her to solve the problem of going to get the ball. And I thought this was really cool because there was no hesitation from Arya on knowing what she needed to do in order to get what she needed, right? And on another point, she really wanted to play with this one girl. She was also 4, but the girl only knew how to swim underwater for a very short amount of time, because obviously she couldn't hold her breath for that long. She couldn't keep her head above water, and she didn't know how to float. So the mother saw that Arya could do this, and she asked Arya if she could teach her daughter how to do this. And Arya said, of course. She taught this child how to float, and she taught this child how to swim above water. Not only that, she cheered her the whole time. Every time she would do it right, even if it was for a short amount of time, she would say, you did it. She would say, you're almost there. You got it. And she would support her because she wanted to play with her. And Arya didn't really want to stay on the edge. She wanted to go swim. In order for her to go swim, she needed this child to swim. So she did the best thing, which was, hey, if I teach her how to swim, she'll play with me. And it was really cool because she didn't do it like as a bragging thing. It was more like she was supporting her the whole time. Like, you did it. You're doing a great job, the whole time. And this child was so happy to be doing all of these things. It was amazing. But on the other hand, there was a time where there was a floaty that Arya had gotten, and this other, how old did she say she was? I think she was 8. And I always ask for ages because I like to know, how Arya interacts with other ages. And this kid wanted the floaty, and so she first tried to take it away, sort of like without Arya knowing, because Arya had it to the side. And Arya looked at her and she said, hey, I'm using that. So the girl went away, and then the girl came back because she really wanted this floaty. And Arya said, hey, if you want to play with it, you can have it, right? Sort of like, you can just ask me for it, right? And so I explained to Arya that sometimes I explained to her why it's important to communicate, and I used that moment to show her, hey, this is why we communicate. This is why this is so important. But then, like 5 minutes later, Arya went up to that same girl and said, hey, do you want to play with me? Because the other girl left, and the girl ignored her. And then she went back to the girl and said, hey, do you want to play with me? And the girl ignored her. So then she came back to me and she says, I think she can't hear me. And I say, well, do you think she can't hear you? Do you think she doesn't want to play? She says, I think she doesn't want to play, but I don't think she knows how to tell me no. And I thought this was really cool because she understood it. It wasn't like she's a bad person. It's just this girl didn't know how to communicate that in that moment she didn't want to play with her. And that was okay. It's not like, Arya didn't throw a tantrum. She didn't start crying. She didn't do a face of, oh man, didn't want to play with me. It was just like, okay, well, that person doesn't want to play. And then she moved on and she went and found somebody else. And I thought it was amazing because it's knowing how communication works, knowing that you have the ability to create your own playtime, per se, in her scenario. And it is possible to do so. And it is possible to do so in a short amount of time because earlier in the year, she was going through so much. And now here she is supporting other children and then also being the model for other children. And why this is important? Because if you can do something from a place of knowing, you know what to do, no matter what brings, you have the knowing of how to communicate effectively, how to build relationship, then whatever scenario comes to you, you'll be able to address it because there is no sort of feeling, how do I feel in this moment to address it? It's knowing how to address it. And I thought that was really amazing because, look at the schools today. Just like I mentioned, there's bullying. There is so many kids who are going through depression, who can't communicate effectively, who have so much in their mind and they can't get out. And if we can support every child to be able to communicate effectively, imagine where our children would be. And if a 4-year-old can do it, anybody can do it. And we can really all support each other. Because, I talk about my daughter because it's what I see and I can share that. But the truth is that there's so many people who can't communicate effectively, who cannot express themselves freely and know that it's going to be okay. That if they say something that somebody else doesn't like, that if they make someone else feel uncomfortable, right? Like, for example, maybe one of the boys felt uncomfortable, like maybe he didn't want to give the ball back, but Arya was able to communicate effectively where she's saying, hey, this is the fact. The fact is that I was playing with that ball and therefore I need it back, right? And there was no feeling like if that kid was looking at her bad or intimidating or whatever, there was no feeling involved. It was only the knowing of what the facts were. And we should all be able to do that, right? But most importantly, being able to support our children to do that. And how we have done it is simple. We just use TechnoTutor. That's it. We don't spend 1,000 hours talking and drilling. Just 10 minutes a day. Support her and allow her to be herself. Give her the opportunity to practically put into application what she's processing, what she's integrating. So I wanted to share those stories because there's so much more than just putting a child into a place and hope for the best. Hope that they'll make a friend. Hope that there will be one kid who will be willing to play with them. Hoping that the child will get over the phase of fear or anxiety of making friends, and hopefully they'll figure it out. But the reality is that you can't be or say, hey, I'm going to put a bike right there in hopes that after 100 times of you hurting yourself, you're going to learn how to ride it. And maybe you will, but the fact is that there was 100 consequences that are now programmed into you of everything that you suffered and hurt yourself in order to learn how to ride that bike. So we can do this. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. And if you want to learn more, just let me know. DM me and we'll get together. We'll have a chat.